If you're like most men, you're probably thinking, how can I get lean ready for summer? Which is in about roughly 12 weeks from now, which also means your results need to be quick and to the point. So how can you lose body fat fast and potentially gain some muscle in that process? The whole point of this video is I'm going to break down the exact steps I'm going to follow to get shredded within 12 weeks so you can copy me. And just so you know whether or not this video is worth watching, I have helped over 135 men fix their skinny fat physique by losing body fat and gaining muscle, all without drugs, without starving themselves, and without living in the gym, even if they're really busy and have a bunch of responsibilities. And with that out of the way, how can you lose body fat ready for summer? Okay, so the first thing we're gonna do is, one, we need to make sure we're achieving energy balance. So what exactly does that actually mean? Well, it's kind of boring, you've heard of it before, but this just means getting your calories right. But it's a little bit deeper than you think, especially if you're trying to lose body fat and keep muscle and potentially gain it. So let me explain. So I'm going to use this quick illustration to show you exactly what I mean. So that is surplus, that is maintenance, that is deficit. It is not suck my deficit, it is surplus, maintenance, deficit. Now this is your maintenance. Everyone has a maintenance calories. This is dependent on a lot of things. Your maintenance calories factors in, what you weigh, how old you are. You've probably worked it out before. You've used those online calculators. I even have one which you can download in the description for free. But basically, we all have a maintenance calorie, so you need to make sure you get that number right. So for the sake of making this really simple, let's just say this is 2,000 calories, all right? 2,000 calories is a baseline. Yours might be different. That's what we're going to do for here. But let's say your maintenance is 2,000 calories and you want to get lean ready for summer. So we want to eat into a deficit. Now, most people will do this in a few ways. A lot of men would just go, right, I'm going to cut out carbs, I'm going to cut out sugar, I'm going to cut out bread, and they're going to see the scales go down because they're running out of glycogen. So they're going to weigh less. If you eat less, you weigh less, right? But how do we lose body fat? So of course, if you eat in a deficit, you're going to lose body fat, right? But how much of a deficit are we talking? Let's say this is 1,000 calories down here. So we're in a 1,000 calorie deficit. One, you're going to struggle to eat 1,000 calories every day before you burn out and feel like shit. And two, you will go catabolic, which just simply means you're eating too low so that you're going to now lose muscle tissue in the long run. And this is where a lot of men go wrong. They eat too little too soon, they lose strength, they lose performance, they feel like shit, and then what happens? They go, oh, I can't eat this 1,000 anymore, I'm hungry, let's eat up here. And they end up going to 3,000 plus and actually just putting it all back on. Kind of wasting time, right? So we don't want to do that. So to help avoid going catabolic and to make sure we're losing significant body fat continuously whilst keeping muscle, we're going to aim for a smaller calorie deficit and we're going to aim for specifically 500. So we're going to aim for, say, 1,500 calories, which is a bit low, but for the sake of this easy maths, we want a small calorie deficit, right? Right around here. All that means is we're still in a deficit, we're losing body fat, but we're not going into that catabolic zone where we're going to start to lose muscle. And that kind of sounds too good to be true, right? You're on a diet and I'm saying, hey, actually, don't eat too little, eat a bit more. But this is where most people go wrong. They eat too little too soon, they lose muscle. I've done it twice. I'll probably put some photos up on here. I've done some cuts in my time and I've just shrunk and lost all the size because I went too low too soon. Performance was crap. You're going to get constipated and feel rubbish. Maybe you've done a bunch of diets before and you haven't found the one that kind of works. Some people say to me, oh, I've lost 10 pounds in the past because I just ate 500 calories and did a load of running. But they always tell me they've put it back on because it wasn't sustainable. So this is going to be a more sustainable approach. But if you're trying to gain muscle at the same time, because you're not eating too drastically low, there's still potential for muscle gain. And of course, if you want to lose body fat, we want to make sure we're not eating in a surplus, because if you're in a surplus, you're going to gain body fat. The number 2,000 is just a baseline, but as you can see, we want a 500 calorie deficit, not too low, and we want to make sure we don't go over it. So my main point here is it's not about what foods you're eating or eating 5 meals a day, 3 meals a day. Should you fast? Should you not eat? Should carbs be the devil? Should you do carnivore, keto? If you want to lose body fat, you need to be in a deficit. Everyone knows that, but it's how you go about it that matters. Now, the reason I've drawn that diagram is you can see how precise those numbers need to be. And the only way you're going to make this precise is if you're tracking. So if you're going to track, I recommend using MyFitnessPal. It's really easy. You just punch in your numbers and you just track what you've had, right? So I actually had an Archers and lemonade, right? Archers and lemonade. So I had an Archers and lemonade. I could search for that. Archers lemonade, 250 mils, 86 calories. I had 2. So I can tap on it twice, really easy peasy. And then that's added it to my day. I've got my targets 2,300 and I now have 918 left. Really easy. And then what you can do is actually go to your macro screen and see where you're at. So you can already see here that my protein's going well, my carbs and fat ratios are good. So I just need to eat a bit more protein, basically. Now, a lot of people argue, oh, isn't that a bit obsessive? Isn't that a bit of a faff? It's not. You're just taking accountability and paying attention to your numbers. And the benefit of that, as you can see, I've just had 2 Archers and lemonade. And most diets, you'd be like, oh, I can't have that, I can't have that. And it's still good to cut bad things out. I'm not saying go and eat pizza and have a bunch of whiskey, right? Because it's not healthy or sustainable. But you'll notice as soon as you cut out foods, that's when you start craving them. If I said to you, hey, right, you've got to get lean, eat in a deficit and never go over it, right? And you're not allowed pizza, you can't have any more Taco Bell, you can't have this, you can't have that, chicken, broccoli and rice, fish and a rice cake. It's no wonder wonder people struggle to stay on their diet. But the reality is, as long as that energy balance is there, you can eat what you want as long as these numbers are there. And before the health police drop comments in my comment section going, oh, that's not healthy, you can still eat healthy foods. I'm just being realistic. I've literally worked with hundreds and hundreds of people, and 9 times out of 10, they can barely stick to anything healthy. So instead of saying, right, you need to change your diet forever and they not stick to it long enough, why don't we find a way to slowly improve your food? If you take control of your calories, you can fit in what you like, gives you a lot more flexibility. Now, of course, I'm not saying go and eat junk food to hit these targets, but it's good to know that you can eat healthy foods, hit these targets. But if you get invited out with your friends, or there's a social event, or where it's summertime, there's going to be beer gardens, barbecues, family socials, whatever, you can show up and actually eat some of the food they have there instead of going, oh, let me just bring my smelly tub of fish, thanks. Who thinks of shit? Oh, it's me. This is just a much more sustainable way. So once you actually build your physique, you can keep it a lot easier. Now, again, if you need help with those numbers, you can use my free nutritional blueprint in the bio, or you can just go straight to Google and find a calculator. And then we have step 2, and that is getting stronger. One of the main mistakes I made when I first started was when you think, right, I need to get in shape, I need to lose body fat, you start thinking cardio, running, getting toned, lifting light weights, lots of reps, lots of endurance training. And that still helps you spend calories, but there's a big problem. If you're eating less food and lifting less weight, your body's going to adapt. And one of the first things it's going to do to adapt is it's going to lose muscle. Changing your body and building a physique is really simple when you think about it as just adaptation. If you're getting stronger and you're lifting more weights and you're eating enough food, your body's going to grow to keep up and adapt. If you eat less food and you stop lifting big weights and you start going for runs, your body's going to lose muscle because it doesn't need it. Why would it need to sustain all that muscle tissue you've built if it just needs to be light and agile? So running and eating a calorie deficit will help you lose body fat, definitely, but you will lose muscle as well. And I'm talking to those skinny fat guys out there. I'm skinny fat by default, right? I gain body fat really easy and I lose muscle really easy. So I've kind of drawn the short straw ultimately. But I've just finished the bulk recently and I want to get a little bit leaner, ready for summer, so that when I take my shirt off, there's not rolls, there's abs. So in order to do that in the most optimal and the most efficient way is get stronger. So by no means am I saying don't do cardio. Cardio is still fantastic. In fact, I'm going to do a small amount of cardio in this cut because fitness and conditioning is very important. But what I'm not going to do is do, 5 days of running and no lifting. Because I actually had a client, shout out Luke, who got big, strong, lean, happy with his physique and thought, I'm going to run a marathon. So he spent the next year training for a marathon. And then he did the marathon, did very well at it. And then a year later after that, he came back to me and said, hey mate, do you have any coaching spaces? And this was around New Year's time. And I was like, well, yeah, of course I do. But why the hell would you need my help? You're already jacked and shredded. And he's like, well, actually, I kind of stopped lifting. I started doing a lot of running. And yeah, I've kind of gained a bit of fat and lost a bit of muscle and become a little bit skinny fat. So back in the gym, back with the heavy weights, getting that strength back up to fix the issue. So let me just make this really simple. I have a lot of people that message me saying, hey, I'm doing calisthenics, I'm doing CrossFit, I'm doing high rocks, I'm doing this and this and this, and all those things are fine. But when I ask them their goals and I say, what is your actual goal? And they say, I want to get big, I want to get strong, I want to have my abs, I want to build up muscle, etc. Then it's clear as day that training is not going to get them there, because all these things I mentioned, running, CrossFit, high rocks, calisthenics, they're great for conditioning. You're going to get a little bit stronger and you're going to gain a little bit of muscle. If you're brand new, anything you do is going to work for the first few months because it's all new stimulus. But once your body gets used to it, how do you push it to the next level? You kind of hit a bit of a plateau. So if you're lifting weights and you're doing 4 sets of 10, you can go 4 sets of 11, 4 sets of 12. You could even drop it down and go 5 by 5. You can add more weight. You could add more time under tension. You could do drop sets. You can increase the frequency throughout the week. There's infinite ways to track your workouts and overload them within the same time frame, which is why this is more effective for people that are busy but also want to gain muscle and lose body fat. You're kind of 2 birds, 1 stone essentially. So if you want to lose body fat and gain muscle as quick as possible, aim to get stronger in the gym. Now the third point is navigating life. In navigating life, this is something that I'd say the majority of coaches don't talk about because that's the hard part, right? We all know that we need to eat in a deficit. We all know we need to exercise and improve, but doing it's the hard part. When you've got a really busy week and you've got to commute for work and you get home, you've just done a 10-hour shift and you're absolutely shattered. You're not going to go, I fancy a salad and a workout, mate. It's just not realistic, and you're going to be relying on motivation, which is going to come and go like the wind. So when it comes to navigating life and trying to stick to your diet, the first point I mentioned about achieving that energy balance, that is helpful because if you do get invited out to go for an event, or for example, I'm seeing some friends this weekend for a barbecue and I'm dieting. So you'd be like, oh damn, I can't do that. Or you think, oh, I just won't track that day. Oh, I'll just let myself off that day. And the more days you have like that, the more you go backwards. But because I'm tracking my food, I can either bank calories from this week, so I can eat less today and tomorrow and give myself more calories to spend on the weekend because I'm tracking it and it's measured. I could also plan ahead and say, right, hey, what we having? We're having chicken, we're having this, we can have a couple of beers. Cool, let me track them. Cool, that fits. And if it doesn't fit and it goes over a little bit, I can take it off the next day. I could do 200 calories, 300 calories worth of cardio. Either way, if it's tracked, it's measured, and if it's measured, you can manage it. So tracking your calories really gives you a lot more flexibility when it comes to navigating life. And you can also plan your week ahead of time with the food. And that's another big thing, is planning ahead is very important. I do love the phrase, failing to prepare is preparing to fail. Because if you don't plan your week ahead and you're trying to stick to a calorie target and everyone around you is not, and you go to the office and everyone's, hey, here's a piece of pizza, here's a pocket muffin, here's a rotisserie chicken out my ass, you're probably not going to want to eat that. But, you know, it's going to be harder to stick to things because there's so much temptation. But if you plan your week ahead, if you prep some meals, or you at least go, okay, lunchtime, I'm going to Subway, I'm going to here, I'm getting this option, or you pack a bunch of protein bars and protein shakes, it's gonna be a lot easier for you to stick to that week. So planning ahead, tracking so you have some flexibility is absolute key. Otherwise, the week will happen to you and you have no control of it. And then you'll get to the end of the week and go, oh, I'll start again Monday. And the cycle repeats and repeats and repeats. And there's another point on this navigating life thing. Who you hang around with is very important. If you're hanging around with 5 friends that are drinking every weekend, it's gonna be very difficult for you to stay away from that and say no. So you can either go for the non-alcoholics or just say no altogether, but it's hard. So a lot of times that's one of the things, that's one of the benefits of having a coach is you've got someone that's going to remind you, keep you accountable, support you and help you navigate those weeks, which I find after being a coach for over 10 years, that's generally the most important part. A lot of people think, I just need a plan. I just need my calories and a meal plan, but people don't stick to it. People don't stay on track long enough. What they really need is help to actually implement it. They need support, they need guidance, they need accountability, they need structure, and they just need some help to stick to it. Now, this is very underlooked. This is why most men hit a plateau. Step 4 is reviewing. So let's say it's been 3-4 weeks. You've hit your calories, you've done your workouts, you're feeling good, you think you're losing weight, the clothes are fitting a bit better. Brilliant, you're bang on track, right? But unfortunately, what got you here won't get you there. After a few weeks of following any program, your body's going to adapt, which is a good thing. That's why it improves and gets better. But it's also a bad thing because your body is adapting to what you're doing, which means you hit a plateau and it stops working. Your body becomes accustomed. So most men end up hitting that wall and they just don't know what to do. They just keep doing the same workout plan, keep going through the motions, expecting a different result, but nothing's going to change. And sometimes you actually go backwards, even though you put in the work. Now, what some other people do at this point as well is they also jump from program to program. They go, right, I've been tracking my calories, I've lost 5 pounds and doing these workouts, but it's kind of stopped. So maybe I should just do keto, right? And then maybe I should do plyometrics. And then they just jump from program to program. And if you're chasing 2 rabbits, you're going to catch neither one. You've got to just do one program, one thing at one time, and then adjust and review it. Now, how I do this specifically with my clients is I have them track their food, they track the workouts, we take progress photos, and we do daily weigh-ins. And then once per week, I'll load everything up from the app and I will check through everything and make sure things are on track. And that way, we know the food's guaranteed, we know the targets are correct, and if we need to make an adjustment to their training or their food or their week or plan ahead, we have all the data and all the information to guarantee it. That's really kind of the secret sauce that I do in my coaching, because if we didn't do that, they would just be going to the gym, going through the motions, and they'd probably get bored, lose focus, and just fall off like most of us do, right? That's why most people don't stick to it. I mean, we're in March right now, and how many people have actually stuck to their New Year's resolution? Fuck all, basically. But by reviewing everything each week properly in depth and having that touch point, it aligns our focus, it helps you stay calibrated on the goal, it gives you clarity on what to do throughout the week, and it means that when things start to slow down, you can make the right adjustments so you don't waste time. That way you see progress every single week. Times that by those 12 weeks, you're gonna be shredded for summertime. You're gonna lose several pounds of body fat and gain muscle because every week is a win rather than just hoping and seeing what happens. Take my client Avi, for example. So over here, we tracked his weigh-ins. We can click his weigh-ins. We see them daily so we can see how they change. Over the past 6 months, he's gradually dropped body fat, kept it super lean as of recent. We could also take a look at his calories, and as you can see, the gold bars means he's hit his target, so he's perfectly hitting his calories, hitting his protein, carbs, which is why his scale weight is dropping. But if it stops dropping and it starts to slow down, we can make adjustments to these numbers to make sure that everything is absolutely spot on. We could also look at his workouts. To take legs, for example, we can see what he did and what dates, what lifts, what reps, what he's hit. So that again, we can make adjustments and change his program if and when needed so he doesn't hit any plateaus. And then of course, we got progress photos to review how he's doing. And as you can see, my man's looking pretty damn fucking shredded. So just to recap what we've done here, we've got energy balance, knowing your calories, making sure your food is correct and not eating too low of calories that you lose muscle. If you need to know how to work that out, you can use the free nutritional blueprint in my bio. Second thing is to get strong. We want to improve our strength so we keep muscle and potentially gain it, but it also helps us spend calories and keeps us looking great. Third thing, very important, navigating life. That is the big thing. A lot of people fall off, they get distracted, work gets busy, life gets in the way. This is difficult. Planning ahead, making things easier for yourself, building everything around your week. If you can only do 2 workouts, do 2 workouts. If you can only do 5, do 5. The best plan is a plan you can stick to, and that will help you stay on track. Navigating life is very important. And then we've got reviewing and adjusting. If you don't review and adjust your week, you will plateau, you will get stuck, and you will lose motivation, and you might even go backwards. Track everything, use a notepad, use an app, review it, and that way you'll be absolutely on track. Now, if you find this helpful, hit like and subscribe. You can follow me on Instagram at Elite Transformation Project. If you want me to help you navigate this, I do coach people one-to-one. At the time of recording, I can't guarantee I even have any spaces, but I do have a free call link in the bio. You can book a call. It's not a sales call. It is purely a chance for me to see if I can help you implement this and answer any questions you might have. And if you want to work with me one-to-one, that's the place to get started. So that is exactly how I'm going to be getting shredded in 12 weeks. And that's the same strategy that I take all my clients through to help them get results like these. If you want to see more or learn more, or even just come along for the journey, hit like and subscribe because I will be documenting my cut ready for summer. Have a good day.